it was a weird situation for me because I was afraid of sex at the same time that I was pursuing it. But I couldn't, it's hard to explain really, but I was kind of taken advantage of in a few ways as a child. So I couldn't really be in a relationship, and I was pursuing sex in all the wrong places. So when I was 19, I ended up in this like 50-year-old woman's apartment in South Beach just to hook up with her. And once we got almost completely naked, I started asking her some questions and found out that she was older than my mom, and that she had a daughter and then another daughter, and the older daughter had a child, so she was a grandma, and that she owned her own escort company and she wanted me to be an escort. And I had been asked to do that a couple times, and I had lost my virginity to a hooker when I was 15, and that hooker was like 50 years old at least. So all of that really made me question everything about myself, because I was such a clean child and I wanted to like have a fairy tale romance growing up, which is what my parents had, which is what I saw in movies. All those things really influenced who I was, and yet here I was in this dirty apartment with a gross lady who I had no idea if she had any furniture. The walls were rotting. Everything was disgusting about the situation, and like, why would I end up there? I had no idea. So it made me question everything.
Hey, I'm Keith. I grew up in the great state of Vermont, and I currently occupy New York City. I mostly do acting. I do background acting. I do personal assistant stuff, brand ambassador work, street team, just all around freelancer, but mostly in front of a camera.
Jason Russo, upstate New York. I'm a project manager for a healthcare company.
My name is Justin. How are you? I'm from Brooklyn, from Bensonhurst, Coney Island area. I grew up like 15 minutes from Nathan's and the Cyclone.
My name is Daniel Benhamu. I am a very funny and disciplined person at the same time. I try to constantly educate myself and be there for others, and I live in absolutes with a lot of contradictions. Right now I'm a student, graduate student, and I'm also working at the school and doing a bunch of odd acting jobs.
I love acting, and I really enjoy what I do for a living, and I kind of feel motivated to jump out of bed in the morning most days because I'm doing something fun.
I don't not enjoy it. There's other things that I would rather do with my time, but I live in a country where money comes first, and it's something I have to live the life that I want to live. Just to have a roof over my head or a nice shirt on my back, everything is driven by money.
Working a 9-to-5 job to me is death. I did it for a while. The last job I had was at kind of a mom and pop company that were very gracious to me, but they ended up telling me after the 10th time that I had to take off work because of a shoot, they said, look, Keith, that's what you want to do. Just go do it. AKA, you're fired.
Of course, everybody has their own struggle inside, don't they? Where they fit in, how they fit in, what they're doing with their life, who are they, where are they going, or for me, who am I, where am I going, what's important to me, what do I want out of life. There's always the juxtaposition of materialism and money. I mean, money can't buy happiness, right? But as Tosh said, it can buy a jet ski. You never see anybody not smiling on a jet ski. It does provide a lot of comfort, for sure. And I've made good money before, and I know what life is like when I'm making good money, and I've made shitty money before, and I know what life is like that way as well. And I can tell you, life's a lot easier and much better when you have money. That's the reality, but that's not necessarily fulfilling. It's true, it can't buy happiness. That is something that comes from within, certainly. And I think that that's why so many people are here today, is that reality. You want to be successful, you want to be able to provide, but at the same time you also want to feel fulfilled, and those don't always align.
I don't see how our generation is lazy. I think there's an incredible disconnect. I remember one time looking for a job, and my stepdad handing me the phone book Like he really thought it still worked that way. Like I was gonna flip to the yellow pages and find a job. Like they just generally don't. You try to explain to them, you have to apply online. They don't understand that because their generation didn't go through that. They really think that you should be walking into these buildings. I'm like, if I walk in the building and try to sit there like that good old cliche where you're waiting for the CEO every day and then he just hands you a job, I'm gonna be arrested.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not allowed to.
I can't do a 9 to 5. I can't just make a certain amount of money and have like you lose creativity like that. You're just kind of like droning in, like you shut off the minute you leave work. I mean, some people, I don't work, so I never shut off.
I am optimistic about the future though, even though it seems like we're going off a cliff and we're all royally fucked and the world is ending and the comet is coming to, smash us into oblivion any day. I'm praying for it. However, personally in my life, I'm very fulfilled and I feel validated and I feel like I'm on the right path. So I'm trying to focus on advancing myself to where I want to be in my life and career. And that's where I find the most motivation, the most fulfillment, the most comfort, knowing that I'm doing something personally. And then I feel like if I am in a positive space because I feel like I'm living my life to the fullest, then it helps me step up and try to help others as well. I can't be walking around fucking depressed about what's happening with the government and the president and everyone in the world getting screwed all the time.
Our generation, millennials as a whole, is optimistic because of all of the shit we were horse fed. Like life is a happy ending. Like everything growing up, all I remember on TV, every channel I watched, everything was always, there was a happy ending, good things happen to good people, bad guys get taken to jail, and like I remember just growing up thinking nothing bad could happen to me. I'm an American, life is good. And then, I think it was September 11th happened. And then I was 11, and I was like, well, we're still safe, everything. And I just kept living like that until I was like 17, which kind of, you're stunted. You don't experience real life until it's too late. And then you have to start from scratch, like finding your place again. Because you've always assumed life was just gonna go a certain way. Like everyone in the movies, they go to college, they graduate, they get a good job. Like my dad always told me I was special. My mom always told me I was special. You get participation credit. Like there are things that we've been coddled to a point where if we're not we don't think failure is an option because we've never actually had to fail or given an opportunity to fail at anything.
I do feel like my voice is heard personally because I do so much social media stuff and I do a lot of interviews and appearances and I'm always basically talking about myself and my opinions. I don't know if that's the case with everybody because they don't have a platform necessarily to express their views, and sometimes because of their concerns over their job security or having friends and family members that may disagree with them politically, they're not as willing to be public about opinions, which I totally understand, especially if they have ambition, corporate ambitions or political ambitions or whatever. Me, I'm like, hey, I'm just a dumb actor, so I'll say whatever the fuck I want. About politics, about sexuality, about smoking weed, whatever it is. I kind of feel like it's an open book and I'm really not ashamed or shy about any of that, so.
I definitely want it heard. I think I've been preparing for my voice to be heard for a long time. And I think it's heard amongst my group of friends and in my network of colleagues. But I don't think I've established myself as a brand yet, and that's what I'm working on.
Well, I think everyone wants to be heard. I think it's not that they need to hear it. I would like them to hear it, and if they agree with me, cool, let's be friends. And if they don't agree with me, tell me, because I want to know if my shit stinks. I just want a larger platform than the social group that I'm in now. Because those are people I grew up with my entire life. I'm afraid they're not telling me my shit stinks at this point, because they're afraid that I'll get butthurt.
I don't know that my voice needs to be heard. I think that there's a a reality right now where social media has given a voice to people that would normally never have a voice, and to a lot of people that probably shouldn't have one, frankly. I'm not sure that my voice is, well, I am sure that my voice is not necessarily any more important than anybody else's. I am willing to talk about what's going on in this country. Obviously, there's a lot going on. People are fired up. I have an opinion and I have a take just like anybody else, and I'm willing to share it, but I don't necessarily think that my opinion is any more valuable or any more important than anyone else's.
Whether or not my unique voice is really getting heard on social media is kind of an echo chamber. So I've pared down my Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that to get rid of dickheads that I disagree with, because there's nobody has time for that, just to be frustrated with these bullshit opinions and diatribes online that are just making me bash my head into the wall. So maybe I'm preaching to the choir sometimes when I post stuff, just because I don't want to deal with those motherfuckers that are still in the Stone Age and are going to rail against me for it. So my voice is definitely heard. I don't know if I'm changing anybody's mind on social media, but I'm at least confirming, like, yes, this is how I feel, not beating around the bush, you know, fuck Trump. I post pretty much daily memes and stuff, you know, and also my own life experiences. It's not just like a branding thing or an image thing. Like, I really do want to express what life is like being openly gay, because it's like so under attack. And my household is made up of, you know, people of color and genderqueer and immigrants. You know, these are my loved ones and my closest people to me in my life. So when I see the hammer coming down, I need to speak up, at least to show people, hey, I'm not cool with this. Whether or not it's really gonna change anything when I say that shit, I don't know, but I gotta say it.
Interesting story, because there's this biblical story about that relates to that, where Muhammad Ali has spoken about it, where if you are passing by someone who needs help and you witness that, as a witness, you are obligated now, with the knowledge of that person's need for help, to help them. And if not, then you'll live with that knowledge that you did not help someone who needed it. And Facebook definitely allows people to play or choose how to be ignorant, or when, or whatever. Does it desensitize people? I definitely think it affects people. It definitely desensitizes people to what they should be pursuing as far as helping others, as far as emotional satisfaction, as far as plenty of things. Yeah, technology affects people in hundreds of ways.
I go to a bar by myself, sit at the bar, I'll ask the girl sitting next to me, you think I should swipe right? Like, you use the technology to build your confidence. Who the fuck says you need to meet that person you swipe with? I do it for my ego. It's like, okay, 7 likes, gonna have a good day today.
It's both genders, I think, but back to your point, you would not have become a person who became who you are today if you had been depending on women swiping right online.
100%.
So that's my point, is like, you had to deal with being in front of another girl who didn't like you, and that's why you lost weight.
More than one.
I also
You know?
think
You don't have that now.
there's a big part of social media, or dating through social media, however you want to put it, that doesn't deal in reality. So you remember like instant messenger when we were growing up, things like that? All right, well you could technically say whatever you want to say to these people, but you had to see them at school the next day.
Oh, yeah.
These people on these dating apps, you don't ever actually have to see them. So it just creates
Or
a
you
kind of
do
false
see them on
reality.
subway station,
Or, yeah,
you gotta
you just
do
pretend
it.
like you never.
Like, sorry for that dick pic.
It creates a completely different world now. It's literally like Avatar.
Yeah.
You're living a false reality.
I went on a date with a girl, and we spilled each other's family tree out for like an hour and a half. We went through all the people in our families who suck and who are great. Hour and a half, nonstop conversation, and then never talk to her again. I would never focus on what other people are doing. I would constantly question myself and how I feel and how I can make that a better situation for myself. And I think other people would follow that without me having to ask them to follow it. I think being online becomes an addiction, and there are days when I'll post something, and if I truly care about what I post, and I'm not getting the kinds of things in return, like likes or comments, whatever, then I'll be addicted to the phone that day looking for those, hoping that they come in, and that's unnecessary, it's a waste of time, I don't need that.
Older generation seems to be less lonely, and they have less lovers or sexual partners in their lives. But somehow we have way more sex as a generation today, but we are such lonely fucking millennials.
I think we're equally lonely, just in different ways. I think that a lot of the older generation lived in isolation in their own way. They had to live up to standards and expectations of who they were supposed to be by society. Today we are much more accepting of people dependent upon their sexuality, gender, how they identify themselves. But we've created isolation through things like dating apps, or we've created new insecurities for ourselves. I don't think that anybody's more or less isolated. I just think that it's in different ways.
People are even saying on their profiles, I mean, maybe in the gay world it's a little more specific, but it'd be like, no blacks, no fats, no whatever. And it's like in real life, you might have some kind of preconceived notions of what you are attracted to or not, but somebody walks by and you're like, damn, she's hot, or he's hot. But with this, it's like you're preemptively rejecting people. Because you're like, this is what I do not want.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're closing yourself off in so much where when you're going through this fucking swim of life, you find out things about yourself, People come your way and it blows your mind. Whereas online,
Yeah, for sure.
it's easy to reject them outright or just tell them you're not interested, and so they never even come your way.
Yeah.
Millennials face is no different than what any other generation has faced, what anyone else has come before them. I'm sure that many people had a lot of things to say about the baby boomers or Generation X or Generation Y or whatever we're stamping on now. I do think that when people see a group of American citizens protesting a free election inside of a democracy, they're probably saying, what the fuck is going on? Because it doesn't make any sense. I think things like that have started to put a bad label on us. We definitely seem like the bitching generation, and we're the offended generation. Everything has become something to complain about. Everything has become something to cry about. Everybody's offended by everything. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I'm a part of it, and I can't disagree with that perspective from a lot of people who are older than me. And I just think that if you're going to interview for a job, or if you're trying to be a part of this in general in any way, shape, or form, and you're leaving Union Square after you just protested a free election, people are going to look at you. I don't think people understand how important that is, how significant that is. Like, you got to vote for the president of your country. That is something that people don't get to do all around the world, and you're protesting it because you didn't like the results. That's just stifling to me. I can never back that. I can never get on board with that. You lost. Go redefine your party. Go win in 4 years then. That's the beauty of America. You don't have to deal with this. He doesn't have to be president for 8 years. He can be president for 4. You can combat it by voting in midterm elections. How many of these people actually have ever even done that historically? I just think that millennials are looking at things way too subjectively and aren't actually putting the right amount of effort and thought to where it belongs.
Everybody's perfect in today's society, especially with social media. Like, nobody in their own right ever seems like they're happy, but they always know what's best for everybody else. That's what I see a lot of, is everybody always complaining about what everybody else should be doing, but never addressing what they should be doing themselves.
Yeah.
It's like we've been sold this idea of what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to become for so long. And now we're all 20, 25, 30 years old, and life's a motherfucker.
Always been leaning towards the left, obviously. I think that everyone should be able to choose what they want to do with their body, with who they want to screw, with what they want to smoke. And I think more government interference makes people fear their government, but also have disdain towards the government, and then revolt and react completely opposite. People say, don't do that. You're going to want to do it just because, you're a person. You're self-aware. You have thoughts that you want to act upon. You can't be told no unless me personally, I need to be told no, and then I have to do it myself. I need personal experience, or I'll have a regret of not trying it. Even don't play with fire, you'll get burned. Really? Yeah, that burns. You know, like that's like my thought process sometimes.
I'm a very progressive person. I think that the government we have is a great system, but it has to be improved upon in a lot of ways. A lot of people aren't utilized the right way. There's a lot of drug addicts and homeless people and veterans and artists that aren't utilized and that they could be utilized so much more effectively. I feel like we need a better community, and I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump, but I do think because of him, a lot of people now see the face of the government for what it is. Everything is constantly being exposed. So we're all forced to work harder together, as opposed to the past when Hillary Clinton or Obama or Bush or anyone else was president. We weren't really aware of their decisions, the decisions they made on a day-to-day basis, so things would affect us years later. Nowadays, because of Trump, everyone is focused on what he's doing every day, and they are aware of it, and they're trying to fight that all the time. So if anything, we're kind of forced to work together, and that's a good thing.
Where I really side politically is like an extreme far left on social issues, because I just believe in personal freedom. You know, people not being and government not dictating to people what they can do with their own bodies and, you know, whatever. As far as, you know, economic and whatever, I don't really understand that shit. So I usually go for the Democrat because they seem the least Nazi-esque. The situation that we're in right now with he who cannot be named, President Trump, is I feel like we would not have gone down this road if a Democrat was elected last fall, but now we're fucked.
Donald Trump says a lot of things just because he wants to see what the reaction is. He reminds me of someone that's doing stand-up. Like, if it plays, he runs with it, you know? Like, he just rambles on, man. Like, my dream is like to be successful in my eyes and in my family's eyes. I don't care what society says about my success, you know? Like, if my family is proud of what I'm doing, that's a start to my success. That'll empower me to go forward with what I'm doing. But if they look down upon what I'm doing, then I think to myself, maybe I need to do something different. But they seem to be running with it right now, which is really, it's nice. I'm very blessed to have a family, parents that are still together. Like, it's not perfect. Like, you know, there's plenty of not perfect things about it, but it's what keeps me optimistic, is that there are people like that in my life.
The American dream is dead. I mean, it really depends on how you view and define the American dream, because it's not the same for everybody. You know, maybe that cliched vision of the wife and the 2.5 kids and, you know, whatnot in the suburbs, that is not really doing it for most people or a lot of people. You know, the American dream is not what it once was. The American dream now seems more about like getting yours and getting paid and getting famous. Maybe that's just the people that I'm around all the time, that they're like, that's my American dream, is to fucking stake my claim and like be somebody and be remembered and whatnot. But it can be something just being a decent person, being a good parent, you know, being a public servant, helping people. I mean, I think that it has to be bigger than you. You know, my American dream is probably pretty different from most people, because I want to be in the public eye and get my name out and perform and all this. So I don't know if you can say the American dream is dead, because it's very elusive. What Donald Trump is viewing as the American dream has nothing to fucking do with my dream, except, you know, maybe living comfortably and not living check to check like I do now. That's part of my American dream, but not just greed for the sake of greed like this fucking guy. You know, it's like, yes, I want to survive and have a decent income and provide for my family, but I see his American dream is so hollow and fruitless. It's cynical. You know, it's like, if he wants to call that dream dead, so be it, because it's a shitty dream. You know what I'm saying? I need to wake up from that. So I think the American dream is different for everyone. And it's certainly alive.
I think I am 100% living the American dream. I have a family of immigrants who came here and worked hard, and they're still working nonstop every day, all day. And they were able to give me the kind of life where I could pursue my dreams, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
There's a sense of like, the American dream sort of is a lot, it has a lot to do with getting rich as fast as possible and becoming famous as if that's something you can plan for. It's like you can plan to someday become famous, but fame is not up to you. It decides.
I think the search for fame is disgusting and depraved, and follow me on Twitter at RealCaneback.
I definitely think that my voice needs to be heard as someone who is living under the auspices of white privilege, which I acknowledge white privilege exists, and I don't try to hide from that. And I think that it's important for those of us who are in that really a position of advantage to acknowledge that that is happening and say that it's wrong.
Look at how I'm dressed. I'm an unemployed, like, 27-year-old. But you look at this, I took this from my dad's closet, like, seriously. I think the fact that Trump got elected going for that vote, he was playing on the white privilege. He's like, you feel disenfranchised, Whitey? I'll get you back. You know, like, I'm afraid to be a white person in America now that Trump is president, because a lot of people don't think like that guy. A lot of white people have completely liberal left views, and everyone's just starting to see that, you know, they think America is trying to go back to the bad days of like slavery and fucking, you know, just wrong shit going on. I mean, that's what Donald Trump did. He didn't do anything great for our country. That's his dream, is to be great again, to be white again. Like, I don't want that. I don't like a lot of white people in one room. I'm afraid, you know, like, they could be plotting against me because I think differently. No, I'm just playing. But you know what I'm saying, you know, I feel more comfortable with people who have open minds.